Last month, UN Climate Conference in Baku, Azerbaijan, concluded with an agreement on lives and livelihoods from the worsening impacts of climate change. Well, still in this week's edition of Green Angle, we examine the outcome of the summit and what the future holds for developing countries. Welcome. I am Esther Mopariola. "79 sea turtles, including hawksbill, loggerhead and green turtles, were recently released back into the ocean after spending 18 months at the Marine Wildlife Center. These turtles for their safety as emergency teams remain on high alert. Now, Lagos State is stepping up its fight against climate change, and at the recently concluded COP29 summit, state officials unveiled plans to tackle the growing impacts of climate change in the coastal city. They announced new investments to tackle their climate action goals and called on everyone to play a part in creating a healthier environment. Lagos state officials at the recently concluded COP29 summit outlined key strategies to tackle climate impacts in the coastal city. They announced securing investments to support the state's climate action plans and urged residents to contribute to creating a livable environment for all.
Right. So in Lagos, for instance, our law has polluter pay principle embedded. And it is not just it doesn't encourage people to pollute. It really just makes them more cautious, because you know that the more pollution you have, the more you will pay. Also, it means that if you install pollution abatement facility, you will pay less, right? So they are deliberate with installing pollution abatement facility. Also, there will not be 100%, coverage of pollution. It doesn't happen. Stoppage of pollution. It doesn't happen anywhere in the world. What we're saying is we will measure your carbon footprint and make you pay for the excess that you have generated. You will pay in many ways. First one will be, direct financial payments. The second one will be carbon offset programs, like, providing clean cooking for women, planting trees, and a couple other things. So you will pay for polluting in Lagos and in Nigeria.
Niger State is making moves in the fight against climate change by partnering with a German consulting firm to tap into the carbon market. Meanwhile, activists are calling for real action, not just promises, warning that climate change impacts everyone and demands urgent, inclusive solutions. Niger State has taken a bold step towards maximizing its carbon market potential by signing an agreement with a German management consulting firm. This partnership aims to unlock resources and investments worth 1 trillion naira, supporting the state's climate action goals. The deal is also expected to enhance the state's carbon registry and foster global partnerships in carbon market activities.
Niger State is endowed with green assets. We have invested so much in the green assets, and so we need the guides to be able to benefit from those assets.
As at today's count, Japan and Singapore and also Switzerland have signed close to 50 MOUs with different African countries. So why wouldn't they come to Nigeria? Why wouldn't we open up our spaces for them? But we can only optimize and leverage in this market when we have the needed knowledge, when we have the needed technical. And this is what Future Camp is trying to do. So we have been in this business for the last 21 years. We have developed over 70 projects, international carbon projects. We have worked with the European Union trading system. We have done the joint implementation. And so we want to help Niger State to deploy these experiences into helping them to set up a carbon platform where they can open up their spaces for private investors to come in and carbon project developers to come in to develop carbon project that has additional co-benefits for the people, rather than waiting for multilateral, bilateral, programmatic finance institutions that are very difficult to access.
Meanwhile, the Minister of Environment, Balarabe Lawal, called on other subnational governments to replicate Niger State's approach by collaborating with the Ministry of Environment and the National Council on Climate Change.
When I went for hunger, this
impacting the lands, it is also eroding cultures.
Green Angle returns in just a moment. Stay with us. Next, we had a chat with the Special Advisor to the Lagos State Governor on climate change and circular economy, and she shared perspectives on the outcomes of the COP29 summit and how it aligns with this.
That we also have cultivated. We have about 500 of those nano, micro MSMEs who are already driving commerce within the space of sustainable development. We were, galvanized, and we had a good war chest, if I can call that, from our financial banking partners, Access Bank. They also had seen the vision before we left, and they were, very, very keen on working with us. And this is an ongoing partnership right now, based on the fact that they're beginning to work with Lagos State with regards to green bond, and circular economy is one of the pillars through which they want to drive sustainability. So we also had our carbon asset managers, because not only do we want to drive the commerce, but there is also the regenerative finance aspect, where we want to be able to develop competence in capturing data, using those data from a macroeconomics perspective to analyze the sustainable trajectory for Lagos State. The idea for us is not for us to sit on funds. It's not our perspective. Building up on our own resources that are available to us, and how can we begin to harness those resources, for our own use. But on the back end, we also know that to access these funds, you must have the right structures, you must have the right tenets, you must be able to capture the necessary data backed by compliance under the provision of the UNFCCC Article 6.4. These are what is needful for you to say that you're structuring yourself as a business. So our partners are engaged on that basis. We engage with them to be able to provide the projects that can help them to drive the Article 6.2 or 6.4 compliance that they require to play in the carbon market. It's great. It's great to negotiate these figures, but it's even greater for us to be able to identify the vehicles that we're going to use to be able to access. And it sits within the space of education. It sits within the space of knowledge. We must improve our knowledge in how to be able to ensure that our projects are touching on what is needful. For instance, it is part of the policy, even when Biden came into office. And one of the things that he mentioned within his plans, within his framework for sustainability, was a clean cooking stove that should, that was to be run in Africa, right? Clean cooking stove is almost like a silver bullet, because if we are able to establish clean cook stove, we will address the issue of deforestation. We will address the issue of health that is declining on a daily basis. We will improve the quality of life of our communities. We can also, to a great extent, open up the space for business opportunity, for job employment within that space. There's no way you want to establish or you want to be able to foster resilience if you're not adapting to the shocks, these shocks that are prevailing upon us. I think that for us to be able to drive this and engender as much, if I can use the word connectivity, or engender as much impact, participation from our communities, then we need to let them know what they stand up against. 2025, if you know the budget, it was called the Budget of Sustainability. And what it means is that sustainability has become the bedrock of how we can build resilience. Those things that we used to do within a linear economy framework, we need to start to redimension. We need to start to reorientate our minds and understand that resource efficiency is very, very important right now. Minimal waste in processes and systems is really, really critical. You know, supply chains, even in the area of, machinery and equipment, we must become very, very innovative in how we can begin to utilize and basically just help our businesses to be recycle our businesses, recycle our machines, recycle the purpose of the deliverables within our systems as well. To establish a coalition, of machinery in terms of funding, in terms of resources, in terms of intelligentsia, in terms of innovative solutions, where what we need as a government is to be able to provide that enabling infrastructure for the connectivity between people, community, and the private sector. It is from the private sector that we can get the funding, and that pipeline would have to go into the MSMEs, the nano and the micro MSMEs. And these micro and nano MSMEs are the ones that interface directly with the communities. When they start to, interrogate, or when they start to interact, that exchange creates a burgeoning where the ones that are, scaling are able to see that there are business opportunities. When businesses are able to expand their operations, people get more jobs onto their table. They get food onto their plates. If they are gainfully employed, they develop in skills. We need to drive the essence. We need to position businesses in the communities. It is the businesses that will open up the gateway. They will open up the pipeline. They will drive the commerce, and in driving the commerce, the data can also be captured because they are knowledgeable about that, and it is that data that they then use for